hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and on Street Talk we deal with political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside,
Paget Maynard.
We got a lot to cover, man. We've seen in the last week or so devastation in Haiti.
Yeah, it seems to be a situation that repeats itself periodically with natural disasters, political turmoil, lack of trading partners, a de facto embargo that's been going on since the early 19th century. The only revolution by enslaved people in world's history that resulted in an independent nation, and they've been punished for having the audacity to free themselves ever since. And now you have a major earthquake that killed upwards of 1,200 people, maybe more now, and followed by a hurricane. It's just the news just continues to be bad.
I was watching the other day, and people just in the streets, all they had was just what they had home.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and there's really at this point, there's no functioning government that can step in, and they don't have any expectations. You hear news report after news report interviewing people on the ground who say they really don't have any expectation of the government coming in to help them. They had a major earthquake in 2009 or 10, and that killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Yep.
And at that time, the UN did a little bit more predatory action than they did help the real people of the nation. And it's just an ongoing tragedy. And if you look at the history of Haiti, you can see where they've been ostracized and marginalized and isolated based on Western civilization's racism.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. That's really the bottom line. I mean, if you look at the enslavement of the African people on that island, San Domingo, which was what it was called before it became Haiti and the Dominican Republic, you saw French enslavers who may have been at that time the most brutal enslavers anywhere in the world.
Yep.
They worked them to death. They routinely raped and tortured women, and for that matter, some children. They had a business model where they calculated that it was easier just to bring in newly captured Africans and enslave them than treat the ones they had with a little humanity and give them proper nutrition, proper rest, and proper accommodations to keep a roof over their head. Rather than do that, they'd work them from sun up to sundown in that hot sun, raising sugarcane primarily, but other agricultural products. And it got to the point where you had so many Africans who had similar cultures where they came from, if not identical cultures, that spoke the same native language, who had the same type of training, who had the same type of knowledge, and they began to plan an insurrection. And one of the first pieces of evidence we have of this was a gentleman named Bookman, who was a carriage driver. He was so well respected that his enslaver permitted him to learn to read. And then he became a carriage driver, so he would go from concentration camp, aka plantation, to concentration camp. And as he went, he carried on this message of, we're gonna flip this over. So that was the beginning of it. You had this communication where people knew that when the signal was given, it was on. And there was a woman named Cecile Fataman. I'm probably butchering her name, French names, of course. And she was what the French called a voodoo priestess. She was simply practicing Vodun, which was African spirituality, which they knew. And the night before the revolution, she did a dance for the ancestors to intercede on their behalf, and they knew from that moment on, the revolution was on. And after all Bookman's seed laying, you saw a nationwide campaign that began primarily in the north. The west and the south was much more rural and more dominated by mulattoes, which, that was a strict racial class. And it was more of a cattle and less labor-intensive style of life. Similar to what you saw on the eastern side of the island, which became the Dominican Republic. And so that night, when she gave that dance, suddenly French family after French family started dropping dead of poisoning, because many of these Africans knew the plants. They knew the medicinal value, and they also knew that some of them had the capability of killing a human being. And you started seeing French family after French family die, either through some type of poisoning or just the machete. And this went on, and it was not necessarily organized in a way that a revolutionary campaign typically is, but it was not spontaneous, and it was intense. So as it went on, you saw an educated man who in the beginning was illiterate, had never had any formal education, but he was extremely intelligent, and he listened and he learned and he educated himself. And that was Toussaint L'Ouverture. And he became the head of the revolution. Extremely brave, extremely charismatic. He organized the Haitian men and women into fighting units. And they used tactics that were both Western traditional military tactics, because eventually they got a hold of arms, but they also used guerrilla tactics. And they defeated the French, to the French's surprise, and the British came in as a opportunity presented itself. They defeated the British. The Spanish tried to take a little peck at it, and they defeated them. Now, there's one thing about the Haitian Revolution that I want to straighten out tonight. If you read a lot of Western historical accounts of it, they say that it was yellow fever that did in the French more than anything else. It's not true. In the first year of the Revolution, the yellow fever started during the rainy season, which started in April. In February and March, when the revolution started, of the 17,000 French who had been sent there, 10,000 were dead by the end of March, before the rainy season started and before the yellow fever epidemic started. 10,000 were out of commission, 5,000 dead, 5,000 in hospitals trying to recuperate from injuries received in battle. And if you read some of the accounts of what the French said, they said they'd never seen people so brave, so courageous, so willing to die for a cause. There was one account that always stands out in my mind where they were talking about the Haitian brothers approaching a defended position on a hill. And they were marching up this hill 2 by 2, singing a song of liberty and revolution, singing at the top of their lungs, as cannons are trained on them with grape shot. And if you don't know what grape shot is round balls about yay big that are shot out of a cannon and are designed to disperse.
Yeah.
Think of it as a super shotgun.
Yeah.
And it's going through this narrow line and, decapitating, taking off legs and arms, disemboweling people.
Yeah.
And they continued to march and they continued to sing and they continued up until they captured that position.
Yeah.
That's the kind of fighting spirit they had. And the reason why they had it is because they had been treated so brutally. They had been mistreated so badly that to them, death in pursuit of liberty was a pleasure.
Yeah.
It was something that they saw as an opportunity. So as the war went on, you finally got to near the end, and Toussaint, I don't want to take up too much time on this, but it's a real fascinating history. Toussaint, as the leader, wore uniform, dressed in Western style. His objective was to end enslavement. He did not want to separate from France.
Right.
He discouraged his people from unnecessarily slaughtering Europeans and also from talking about becoming an independent nation. He put to death his own nephew, a man named Moise, spelled M-O-I-S-E. I don't know how you pronounce it in French, which ironically is the name of the president who was just assassinated in July.
Yeah.
He had him put to death because he was not adhering to his direction. He was going out and killing French people on sight. They didn't kill the Germans. They didn't kill the Americans. They didn't kill the English on sight. But when they saw French people, they were killing them, and this was against Toussaint's orders. So Toussaint put his own nephew to death. That's how much he wanted to be respected by the French. So as he's winning this revolution, they convince him to come and sit down and have a negotiation. They get on the ship. They quickly bound him and set sail for France. Once they reached France, Napoleon Bonaparte's orders were, we're not going to have a trial. We're not going to have this man seen anywhere where he can inspire resistance. Because again, the French Revolution had just ended in the late 1760s, early 1770s, a few years before the American Revolution. And they still had that revolutionary spirit in the air. A lot of the French proletariat were against enslavement, but the bourgeoisie, the shopkeepers, the entrepreneurs, of course, they wanted slavery. So they didn't want Toussaint to be seen. So they took this man 3,000 feet up into the mountains. They put him in a cell, and they, under strict orders, they gave him less than enough food, enough calories for him to live, and just enough wood to just give him the impression that there was heat, but not enough to keep him warm. And eventually he starved and died of cold, this great man. Now, after that, Dessalines took over. And Dessalines had no ambition at all to be a Frenchman. He not only wanted to be free from enslavement, he wanted to start a separate nation. And they started talking independence then. And that's when the war really got hot. And you're talking about a race war. Napoleon sent his nephew, a man named Leclerc, and he brought another 20,000 men. Now yellow fever is riddling through the French ranks. But as that's happening, you're also seeing veteran, hardened, military tactic genius leadership under Dessalines, and they destroyed the French army. Destroyed it almost completely. There were out of 20,000, they only had a few hundred left, and that's how Haiti became an independent nation. What were the results? The United States turned their back on them.
Yeah.
The Constitution that Toussaint wrote, which was inspired by what Thomas Jefferson wrote, the United States turned their back on them because they said, if we start giving you your props, what are we going to do with all these enslaved Africans we have? Britain wouldn't trade with them. France, of course, wouldn't trade with them. So here's a country that's completely destroyed by war.
Yeah.
Completely destroyed.
Yeah.
From north to south, east to west.
Mm-hmm.
Who cannot trade, who is put under an embargo and told that they had to pay something like 20 million francs, which in today's dollars is $21 billion, which they paid by the early 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, it's been one invasion after another, one intervention after another. You have a society that is not able to grow and expand because they're always under pressure. You had the docs, Papa Doc and Baby Doc put in.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we get a democratically elected president who's very popular, Aristide. What happens to Aristide in 2004? White vans pull up to his palace one night, kidnap him and his wife.
Yep.
Condoleezza Rice is all behind it.
Yep.
They ship him to the Central Republic of Congo.
Yep.
And where he knows no one.
Right.
And but for Amy Goodman and several other people, Randall Robinson, who wrote a great book on the situation in Haiti, and others, he would have probably died there. But they did bring him back to the West Indies, and he's now in Jamaica. And then, of course, since then, we've had one corrupt leader after another.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it looks as if, preliminarily, to bring you up to date, what killed President Moise is apparently drug smugglers.
Mm-hmm.
We had a case a few years ago where there were several tons of cocaine and heroin dropped by someone packing a plane. They spilled. They saw all these drugs. They called the police. The police showed up in jeeps, carried it all away. It was never accounted for, and a lot of people speculate that what we're seeing now is a narco state.
Yeah.
That's being run by gangsters,
mm-hmm.
and an elected president has no safety,
right?
Because the money is so big,
mm-hmm.
and Haiti is a convenient depot and stopping point
mm-hmm.
from South America to North America, and that's where we are now. It's a really tragic situation, and it's one that, if more African Americans were aware of, we could do more to come together to help those people. They're our brothers.
Yeah.
Our sisters.
We just
that's a great history and appreciate it.
We just the thing about it is just American blacks just they don't keep up with the thing. They don't read enough. They just don't find out enough, you know. And when they do find out, it's like if it's not something foolish, you know, they don't, you know, hey, well, that's it, you know. I'm gonna do for myself. But Patrick,
we have some situations here. Of course, Haiti had been struck by hurricanes. We have had some devastation from earthquakes because they had more than once. What's going on there now? How does that tie with anything else? I mean, great history, Dennis. Now, what could we see going on there? Is the Haitian people, are they, as a people, prepared to do anything to advance their cause, themselves and the country? And with all these natural disasters, hurricane, earthquake, what's happening there now? How is it affecting the country?
Well, it's effectively a narco state now. And beyond that, you have a lot of Western manufacturers who can fruit, vegetables, things like that, who pay their people starvation wages.
Yeah. So
you have a neo-slavery going on there
mm-hmm.
now, where people make just enough to get by. And you also have this narco state that completely corrupts the government, so that change cannot occur that normally would under a democratic government, where you'd say, I, as a representative of the people, and there's more of us who have this position that don't,
mm-hmm.
we want to move the country in this direction. It's impossible when you really don't have a legitimate government that can stand on its own 2 feet, because again, it's isolated, it's ostracized, it's told that you won't be able to do anything with Western civilization because 200 years ago you had the temerity to throw off the chains of enslavement.
And see, that's one of the things that irritates me. You know, here's a country right down there, but all of these other countries, and let's go into Afghanistan.
Let's finish off some more with Haiti.
You know,
because Haiti has some desperate needs right now.
Right.
Over 2,000 people died from this earthquake.
Yes.
They're still having heavy aftershocks.
No.
They don't have anything. Food, water,
No.
clothing, nothing.
No.
What can be done? What ought to be done? Who ought to step up to the plate to help these people?
First of all, the U.S. The U.S. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing in Afghanistan.
Okay. No. What Afghanistan shouldn't affect here. Why should the U.S. do something in Haiti?
The United States has a doctrine that says everything in the Western Hemisphere, North, Central, South America, is within their interests.
Okay.
And they won't let anything happen that they don't have a say in. Ask Cesar Chavez in Venezuela. Ask the Brazilians. Ask the Colombians, which is another narco state. So if that is true, and what happens is in our interest, I think you could extrapolate that the misery and poverty that you see in Haiti is in the United States' interest. That's what they want to have happen. So then it's not a matter of what the Haitian people can and want to do for themselves, because they've proven over and over again that they're capable of fighting and winning and organizing a government. But when you have the entire Western world against you, and the world is dominated by Western civilization, it's going to be more than a slogan saying, let's get up off our feet. What can we do? Why don't you do it for yourself? It's a lot more complicated than that. And I think
the last administration we had here, we had Haitians, because of the devastation there, came here, but they were ordered out. They didn't embrace them. And I know where Ahmad would love to jump right now. But before you jump up there, Ahmad, is there anything specific? Now, let's be tangible.
Okay.
America should assist. What should America be doing for them? What can we as natural citizens, whether nationalized or by birth, citizens of this country, what could we as individuals or groups do to help these people?
I don't agree that it's the United States' responsibility, because A, you can't trust the United States to do the right thing, and B, the United States has its own problems. I think it's the UN. I think it's the World Health Organization. I think it's the World Court that needs to step up.
Yep.
And they did to a certain extent after the earthquake, and they did to a certain extent after the kidnapping of Aristide. But again, when you are dealing with a narco state, when you're dealing with the neo-enslavement state, the rules are different. And the people who could make the difference don't have an interest to make the difference, because the way things are now is profitable.
Okay. They don't have clothing. They don't have food.
No.
Could we, like through the Red Cross or some other organization that can help, donate things for this cause so that they can have them?
That's done. UN, Red Cross, you name a philanthropic organization, they're there. And it's drops in the bucket. I hate to repeat myself, but as long as it's a narco state, as long as it's being controlled by the West, they're going to have this misery.
We got about 3.5 minutes on this.
Well, Afghanistan is similar. If we're going to talk about it, is that our next?
We could devote a whole session to
well,
that. Let's finish Haiti.
Okay.
So, now you said things are being done right now. Okay.
No, I didn't say that. I said that the remedies that you just mentioned, they're being done, but that's not the fix. You had a young man from the group the Fugees. I forget his name now. He started out as a hip hop artist who is from Haiti, and he tried to run for president, and he ran as a man of the people, as someone who really loved the people and wanted to do better. Well, he started getting death threats and was almost assassinated. He's not there anymore.
Okay.
You saw the Clinton Foundation give hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to the Haitians. It never got to the ground.
No.
It looks as if that money was siphoned off and stolen. By who? Well, this guy says it was this guy. This guy says it was the Clintons. We don't know. So there is no real patent answer. There is no quick and easy answer that says if we did this, it would all change. It's going to take Western civilization to finally look at the Haitian people through the lens of humanity and say that we have done these people wrong and we need to try to remedy this situation. That's what it's going to take. And that type of remedy looks more like a pie in the sky type wish than in reality.
Okay, then.
Because again, they're profiting from the poverty.
Yeah.
They're profiting from the misery. They're profiting from the destitution, just like they did during the enslavement period.
Yeah.
My question here then, Dennis, what should the French be doing now? Should they step up to the plate and help them, considering how much they had already extracted from these people?
Paying reparations.
Yeah.
They extracted $21 billion from a brand new poor nation that's building itself up. After World War II, Germany was utterly destroyed.
Yep.
Russia was utterly destroyed. Much of Italy was utterly destroyed.
Yep.
Huge
Japan.
portions of Japan. Japan was utterly destroyed. Huge portions of Britain was utterly destroyed. France. So what do we have? We had a movement to rebuild those countries, and we brought in everything that they needed to rebuild their factories, to rebuild their economy, to put food on the table.
As in?
We could do that. The Western nations.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Western nations came together after World War II and said, okay, the war's over. We're going to let bygones be bygones. We're going to rebuild these economies. And of course, that's when the Cold War started, because Russia had its own interests, and the United States had their own, and everything was divided along that axis and divided Germany into West and East, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not the point. The point is, we had the wherewithal to rebuild those countries. We could put the same focus on Haiti. What's the difference? Haiti was destroyed by a war. Haiti won that war.
Yeah.
Haiti should have been paid reparations. Instead, they were made to pay reparations. So I think to answer your question, the first thing France could do is pay back that $21 billion.
Okay.
The second thing that could be done is for the United States to treat Haiti as an independent nation and make sure that
as a good neighbor,
elected governments are supported and not undermined by narco criminals, and that you get rid of this way station that it is for drugs coming up from South America.
Yeah.
There's a few things that can be done simply, but the Red Cross and the UN and all those, you're putting Band-Aids on a bullet wound. That's not going to get it done.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.